So the next performer is a bisexual academic. I'm pretty sure she screws though, yeah? She screws though. A big applause for Jules!
2018, in fact, December of 2018 was the year I finally went through with something I'd been longing to do for a long time, for many years. But yeah, this was the year, and this was the month that I finally got to visit Zagreb, Croatia. I'm glad nobody laughed at that. But yeah, because a lot of people, I think, to reintroduce myself, I'm a Londoner, and a lot of people get the wrong impression with Londoners. You know, they confuse us with New Yorkers. They think like we're very snobby, we've got like a superiority thing going on. As a Londoner, the question you get most bored of when you're living abroad is like people, you say, oh, I'm from London, and people are like, oh, you're from London, yeah, why did you leave? What are you doing here? So this is a question I've got from everyone except for other Londoners. Like when you meet other Londoners, you're just like, yeah, I'm just like, oh, you got out as well, cool, yeah. Welcome. You don't have to sell your vital organs to your landlord here, it's cool. Check it out. But I feel like nevertheless, I've got this unique insight into different cultural differences. So when I was visiting Zagreb, I feel like what I really found is there's like a big difference. In Vienna, people love to complain, and in Zagreb, they prefer to apologize. And as a British person, I'm kind of an expert on both, so I'll just run you through some cultural differences. So yeah, so the Viennese approach to complaining is very different to the British one. British complaining is like we love to complain all the time, but if you want to like stop a British person complaining at you, you just have to ask them, okay, so what should we do about this? How can we solve this problem? And they will immediately freeze, you know, and fall silent. Because in Britain, complaining is something you do about something you don't really want to fix. You just kind of want to make some noise. So that's our style. In Vienna, though, it seems to be like a competitive sport. It's like, they go in. And I was noticing in my first 6 months living here, like, it was every time I'd say a nice thing, like, the Viennese I was talking to would have to think of 3 things to, like, contradict me. So it would go like this. I'd be like, oh yeah, the Karl Marx Hof, that's, like, lovely Art Deco masterpiece, social housing, reminds us of the high tide of social democracy and building our way to communism, isn't that great? And they'd be like, yeah, well, it's privatized and expensive, and there are fascists living there, so really, I don't know. So yeah, eventually you'd feel kind of pleased when you'd bring up something which the Viennese couldn't kind of counter-say. So you'd go, okay, well the Karl Marx Hof sucks, that's fine. What about like the Jonna Insel, that like magical pleasure island where you can just have picnics all through the summer? And they'd be like, oh yeah, it's okay, I guess. So that's when you know you'd made it. But then it started to make me think, like, as I kept on with this stuff, it started to make me think that maybe this is why Vienna's like on like #1 on all of these like standard of living rankings, you know, it keeps on winning these things. So like maybe they just, like, nothing's good enough for them, so they complain until it's amazing. And I mean, it's either that or the legacy of imperialism, I'll let you decide. So anyway, speaking of which, so in Zagreb, people were just apologizing. And again, like, as a British person, I think I know apologizing. And famously, we're the country where, like, you bump into a British person and they apologize to you. That's not a stereotype, it's actually true. So I was thinking, yeah, so what you'll notice, though, is that British people, we mostly do this, it's kind of a ploy, it's like a game. The British kind of national sport is avoiding conversations about your feelings. And that's thing which our little apologizing thing does, because you just apologize for the small stuff, you apologize for the minor things, and then you don't have to have a difficult conversation. Like, and you'll see this. And you can observe this, for instance, you'll never see a British person saying, yeah, I'm sorry we invaded your country. We don't want to go there. We don't want to go that far. And, you know, we're going to rely on various other countries, including Ireland, for our food soon, so maybe we should work on that one. Anyway, yeah, but in Zagreb, I was there in December. I was there at the start of December, so mostly I was hanging out with leftists, as I do, and the main thing the Croatians were apologizing for were the Christmas markets, which they hate. And you can kind of see why they would hate like consumer capitalism and Christian identity rolled into one package. You can see why that might not be popular in that particular part of the world. But for me, like the main thing they would tell me is like we've only had these for a year or two. They've only had 2 years of Christmas markets in Zagreb. So like in Vienna, all of the Christmas markets kind of look identical. Like you've been to 2 or 3, and then you've got another 20, which all look exactly the same. Whereas in Zagreb, I was finding like they don't really know what a Christmas market looks like yet because they just don't have the tradition. So the first one I saw was like camo net tents. I think they got them like from a paintballing. They got camo tents, and then they had decked them with Christmas lights, like fairy lights, to make it look Christmassy. And they were like, great, this is a Christmas market, have some people. And I loved it, so I was like, I've got to check out some more of these. And I went to the second one, and you know, it was looking pretty standard, pretty normal, until I realized they had this huge plastic dome with like a bar inside that had like a sound system. So it was like blasting out rave music, which like doesn't really happen in Vienna, I'm sorry to say. So I tried one more. I went to my third one, and this just had like loads of barrels with like open fires and people singing, and like all singing the same song. And again, I was just like, well, this is kind of cool. So the thing is with this singing, like this is something I knew before from like Viennese house parties. There's this time when things get a bit Baltic and it gets really loud. And I even found it like in a nightclub. So after I'd gone to these Christmas markets, I went to a nightclub, and the basement was just like teenagers playing traditional Croatian songs and singing really loud, to the extent that like when I was on my way home, I could hear them singing like over the sound system when I left the club. Which again, like you don't really hear British people singing that loudly unless it's a football match. So I was kind of into it, but obviously then I tell my leftist friends the next day, like it was alright, like there was lots of really loud singing. I had to leave the club so I didn't get deaf, but other than that, it was like, you know, pretty great. And they're like, yeah, sorry, we do get a bit loud. So I have time for one more joke for you, if I've even told any yet. But I decided on my second night I'd go somewhere a bit cozier, like somewhere more familiar. So I went to like a squat party, because leftists look the same all over the world. And in this case, it was leftists with one dance floor and hipsters with another, but also, you know, hipsters are like an international trend at this point. So I went to this party, and I was chatting to two young ladies, and I decided I would start it off by apologizing, of course. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Croatian. So what's your favorite Croatian word? You know, to try and make my ignorance seem kind of cute, as we British people have to. And she says, oh, kahlim. I'm like, okay. So I repeat it back. I'm like, kahlim, what does that mean? And unfortunately at this point, I roll my R, my rrr sound, so well that she refuses to believe that I can't speak Croatian. And she drops out of English and starts talking to me. Unfortunately, I actually can't speak Croatian, so I was just kind of nodding and saying, oh yeah, da, and so on, until it got very awkward, and I had to leave to the other side of the party, making some excuse. And I got onto the internet, and I was curious. I was like, so what does this word mean? This mystery word that she wanted me to say. And I get on Facebook. I asked my friends, and my friend Stani, who's Croatian Australian, is like, oh yeah, that means wings. I'm like, oh, that's quite nice, that's quite romantic. And then she's like, oh yeah, unless she was using the first person singular, in which case it means I violate. I was just like, I violate, all right. Well, I missed out on quite a hookup there.